am going to talk about something that I've never talked about and that nobody knows about. My 10-year divorce on a 2-year marriage. Now, have I discussed my divorce in little pieces, and have I discussed divorce in general? And have there been breadcrumbs? Yes. Has the media written about my divorce ad nauseum? Yes. Have excerpts from the multiple years that I was in court come out of context in different publications and been analyzed and attempted to be interpreted? Yes. But have I ever really spoken about my divorce from my perspective and how it all went down? No. And there are many reasons for that. One was that I felt stifled by certain things that I had to sign at certain periods to get things done and to stop the bleeding. And I later felt fraudulent in not sharing certain experiences. I also felt conflicted because I felt like I have a daughter and I don't want to put her at risk in any way emotionally. I wanted to keep certain things private. That being said, being a woman who speaks out about things that happen that other women are going through is really important. I mean, women experience abuse and torture and divorce and confusion and financial despair and discrimination and a lot of things. Like a lot of bad things happen during breakups and divorce. I mean, we've heard crazy stories from different celebrities and you read the headlines, but like divorce, there was a debate on the Housewives about divorce versus death and them being compared. And I've experienced both. And divorce for me was more torturous, was a worse experience. And that's a big statement because I experienced someone very close to me dying and it was really horrific. But nothing will ever be in my entire life as torturous as my divorce. And I grew up I've experienced drugs and gambling and guns and abuse and watching people get, beaten the shit out of and hospitalized. And I've seen people try to take their own life. And I've seen pretty bad shit. I mean, I've seen really bad shit. And there's nothing that will ever compare to my divorce and what it was like. Like, it was by far the worst experience of my life. I thought I would never survive it. I did not see a way out. It was suffocating. I thought I was going to be miserable for the rest of my life. I thought I was going to have a terrible life. I could not see out of it. I literally could not see out of it. And at the time that I could not see out of it, was a well-known, wealthy, powerful, successful, attractive, smart woman with a whole big career ahead of her. So imagine what a person who doesn't have all those things going for them goes through and feels like. The power struggle, the manipulation, there's so many things that go on. And while the world really, really focuses so much on the fairy tale and the dress and the get the ring and get the guy and get the married and get the partner and all of these things and watches celebrities promote their relationships and show us all the good and never show us the bad and show us, the rise to romance and then it's, respect our privacy during this challenging time. I feel that there's a responsibility to tell the story of what the fuck went down because it's not that common to have a 10-year divorce on any length of marriage, much less a 2-year marriage. And I certainly didn't walk into this thinking that this was going to happen. And I had a therapist in the beginning say to me, this is a divorce. It's a garden variety divorce. Like, you're getting divorced. It was anything but garden variety. I'm discussing it from my perspective, and I'm not here to trash anybody because it does no good. This is not an anger train. If I was so angry, it would have been years ago when I actually had the anger and was so helpless. It's not that. It's more like this was an experience that I've hidden because I felt that I couldn't speak out, and then I felt that I shouldn't speak out because of my daughter. My daughter knows all about this, and we talk about it a lot, but I can tell you with great certainty, and you know I'm a pretty thorough and methodical person, that I am speaking about this thoughtfully and carefully, but responsibly. And the story needs to be told. When I've talked about divorce in just little snippets, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram or on here, about the 15 notebooks that I have right now in a storage facility that were the reason that I ended up getting primary custody of my child and ending a 10-year harrowing situation. The views were astronomical, and people are desperate for help, and people can't afford the legal help that I had. Like, you got to understand, I had the resources. I cannot imagine what someone who has no money or power or resources goes through. Like, it used to be the only thing that kept me going during this divorce, to say one day I will hopefully get out of this and be able to help somebody else. So I took a long time before I was ready to do that. And it's years after it. And now, ironically, it's not that many years after it was finalized, but it's years after it started. And now I'm finally ready. And this is the place I'm going to do it. So I don't know how many parts this will be off the top of my head. I think maybe 10 parts on 10 years. It could be 25 parts. It could be years. There's so many things that happened. I can't explain. I went through forensic psychologist. I went through financial forensic analysis. I went through parenting coordinators, lawyers, multiple trials. I dealt with court appeals. I dealt with my apartment, which I believed was my own. I became my own detective and figured out how to clarify that. I mean, I've spent months and years in court. I've dealt with my daughter having her own lawyer. It's called a guardian ad litem. I've dealt with multiple trials on custody to eventually get decision making and then finally get primary custody. I mean, I have been through a fucking war, and I am an expert on this topic. An expert on this topic. You can call Alan Mayefsky and Ronnie Schindel and Heidi and ask them if I am an expert on this topic. If I could not be a divorce lawyer, ask them. Insane. So I am ready to talk about something that has been impossible to talk about and that cannot be talked about in bite-sized pieces. It has to live and breathe, and it has to be explained how I arrived in that situation, how a person who is so smart and so successful could make such poor judgment calls and decisions, or just not know, or just have a bad hand. But it's been a journey. So I'm ready to discuss it. And I'm ready to help some people, educate, and you do not know what it's like until you go through it. So somehow I have to find the way to convey to people so they don't go through it. I just think I can do that. I think that I was born to do that in a way that people will not, like from the very beginning of a relationship, that people will not get to where I've gotten to. And it's why I have not gotten married again, or I'm not sure if I would ever get married again or ever be legally bound to someone for anything other than a business contract. It just is insane to me in many ways. So I've been burned. I have massive trust issues, and I have post-traumatic stress disorder. It was literally the most traumatizing thing that I will hopefully ever go through in my life.